Data flow mapping is one of the most operationally critical tasks in GDPR compliance. Without knowing where personal data comes from, how it moves, who receives it, and where it ends up, an organization simply cannot demonstrate compliance with Article 5, 24, 25, 30, or 35. In this lesson, we will cover what data flow mapping is, what it must capture, and why it is legally non negotiable. A data flow is any movement of personal data from a web form to database, from a CRM to third-party processor, or from a server in Germany to a cloud provider in US. Every flow has four components: a data subject whose data moves, a data type being transferred, a purpose driving that transfer, and one or more controllers or processors handling it, including joint controller arrangements. Understanding these components is foundation for effective mapping. What is data flow mapping? Data flow mapping is a structured process of documenting every personal data movement across an organization. It answers six questions: what data is collected, where it originates, how it is used and stored, who receives it, where it is transferred, including third countries, and when it is deleted. The output is your organization's central record of processing activities required under Article 30. Without this documented picture, compliance with accountability, transparency, and purpose limitation obligation under Article 5 is practically impossible to demonstrate. Why is data flow mapping required? The GDPR does not say produce a data flow map. It does, however, require outcomes that make mapping unavoidable. Article 30 requires a written record of all processing activities, which presupposes that you know every activity. Article 35 requires a systematic description of processing before a DPIA can proceed. Article 5, paragraph 2 requires you to demonstrate compliance with all data protection principles. Article 25 requires privacy to be built in by design. Each of these obligations is impossible to fulfill without first mapping your data flow. Legal foundations at a glance. Article 5 is the backbone of data flow mapping. Each principle creates a direct mapping obligation. Transparency. Under Article 5, paragraph 1a requires knowing what data you hold. Purpose limitation. Under Article 5, paragraph 1b requires confirming data is not reused beyond its original purpose. Data minimization. Under Article 5, paragraph 1c requires identifying unnecessary collection. Storage limitation. Under Article 5, paragraph 1e requires knowing retention periods. Accountability. Under Article 5, paragraph 2 requires documentary proof. All of the above. A complete data flow map is your primary evidence that these principles are met. Who must carry out data flow mapping? Article 30 applies to both controllers and processors. Controllers document their own processing activities under Article 30, paragraph 1. Processors maintain separate records under Article 30, paragraph 2. The small organization exemption in Article 30, paragraph 5 is narrow and frequently misapplied. It only applies where processing is occasional, poses no risk to data subject, and involves no special category data or criminal data. Most commercial organizations fail at least one of these conditions and therefore cannot rely on the exemptions. When in doubt, maintain the records regardless. What must a data flow map capture? Article 30, paragraph 1 sets out a minimum content list for controller records. It requires the identity of controller and PPO, the purpose of each processing activity, the categories of data subject and personal data involved, all recipient, including third country recipients, the applicable transfer safeguards, retention periods where determinable, and a description of security measures. Article 30, paragraph 3 requires these records to be maintained in writing, which includes electronic format. This minimum list should be treated as floor, not a ceiling. Additional details strengthens the accountability. Processor side records. Processors are independently obligated under Article 30, paragraph 2 to maintain their own records of processing activities. These are not copy of controller's record. Processor's record must identify every controller on whose behalf the processor act, describe the categories of processing performed for each, document any third country transfers and the safeguards used, and describe security measures where possible. This obligation exists even if the controller has complete records. Both sets of records must be available to supervisory authorities on request under Article 30, paragraph 4. The data flow mapping process step by step. A data flow mapping exercise has 6 stages. First, define your scope. Second, conduct data discovery across all systems, platforms, and paper records. Third, interview process owners and IT teams to trace actual data movements. Fourth, document each flow recording, data type, source, purpose, legal basis, recipients, location, data retention period, and security measures. Fifth, cross check the completed records against Article 30 requirements, identify any gaps, and flag unlawful and undocumented transfers. Six, and critical, treat the map as a living document. Processing activities change, new vendors are onboarded, and systems are updated. Article 30 records must reflect the current state of processing all the time. Data flow mapping and the DPIA. A DPIA under Article 35 cannot be conducted without a data flow map. Article 35, paragraph 7a specifically requires the DPIA to include a systematic description of the intended processing and its purposes. That systematic description is, in practical terms, a data flow map for the specific processing activity under assessment. High risk processing, including large scale processing of special category data, systematic monitoring, or automated decision making triggers are mandatory. Article 35, paragraph 4 requires supervisory authorities to publish list of processing operations mandatorily requiring a DPIA. Those national lists are operationally binding. Third country transfers and data flow mapping. Chapter 5 of GDPR restricts personal data transfers outside the EEA unless a lawful transfer mechanism is in place. Article 30, paragraph 1e requires records to identify third country recipients and the safeguard relied upon. Data flow mapping is the only reliable method for identifying undocumented or unauthorized third country transfers, sometimes called shadow transfer, where data is routed through foreign servers without the controller's knowledge. Data flow mapping and data subject rights. Data subject rights under Article 15, 17, and 20 are operationally dependent on accurate data flow maps. To respond to an access request under Article 15, you must know every system and location where the data subject's data is held. To fulfill an erasure request under Article 17, you must be able to delete data from every location. To fulfill a portability request under Article 20, you must know the format and location of the data. Article 12, paragraph 3 gives an organization 1 month to respond, extendable by 2 further months for complex or multiple requests. Without a current data flow map, meeting that deadline is unreliable. Common data flow mapping failures. Supervisory authority investigations consistently identify the same mapping failures. The most common are no Article 30 records at all, records that exist but have never been updated, and shadow IT systems that are entirely absent from the map. Third country transfers are frequently undocumented, legal bases are missing for individuals processing activities, and detention periods are either absent or stated as indefinite. These are not administrative oversights. Failure to maintain Article 30 records is directly enforceable infringements under Article 83, paragraph 4a, carrying fines up to 10 million euros or 2% of global annual turnover. Data flow mapping is not optional and not a one-time project. It is continuous compliance obligation anchored in Articles 5, 24, 25, 28, 30, and 35 of GDPR. It must capture data type, purposes, legal basis, recipients, locations, transfer safeguards, and retention periods for both controllers and processors. It directly enables DPIA completion, data subject rights, responses, and third country transfer compliance. An outdated or incomplete map is nearly as problematic as no map at all. Organizations should assign clear ownership for maintaining records and build update triggers and system change processes.